Hi all, today I'm going to be giving a quick intro on kind of the different concepts and different stages you'll take to learning how to make avatars. So when I first started off, it was definitely really hard for me to know kind of what at least know what I had to learn, if that makes sense. I didn't even know what a material was, so my first avatars were not looking great because I was using the standard shader. So I think this will kind of give you a good overview of what steps you need to take to kind of learn how to make custom avatars. So the green here is kind of like step level 1, and then level 2 would be the orange, and level 3 is kind of more advanced, and that's when you have to take it to the next level. We incorporate a new program called Blender, and there's also different stuff you can learn in Blender, and there's different difficulties of that. But today I'm basically going to be giving an overview of it all, but let's start with the simplest, which would be say you just bought an asset off of Booth or VRC mods, and you kind of want to just get the avatar uploaded. So for something like this, I'm going to actually teach you how to do it real quick. So this here is a Unity package file. It looks kind of like this, and like I said, you can get them off these websites. For example, if you bought the con model off of a Booth, you'll get a Unity package file, and it's kind of ready to go. And the advantages of a Unity package file is it's super easy to set up in Unity because it has these things called prefabs, and it already has the FBX model and textures included, as well as materials and animations. Those are also included often in the Unity package file. So I'll do a quick demo of what that might look like. Let me just delete this, and let's delete this. So say you have a brand new avatar, and so basically you import the Unity package file by dragging and dropping in here, and you should get a folder. In this case, it's called low polygon, and underneath you'll see this is the FBX. If you click on it, you can see FBX, and the ones that are kind of square and they don't have any arrows next to them are the prefabs. So the prefabs you basically drag and drop, and it's already ready to upload. They make it very nice and easy in most cases, and you can see dynamic bones are already loaded up, and that's because I imported dynamic bones ahead of time, and I also imported Unity-chan Toon Shader, which is in the instructions it says to download that and import it ahead of time. So it depends on what Unity package file you get, but in this case I just downloaded that ahead of time. And you can see we're missing scripts because I don't have the SDK already imported, but it would have already gone and imported the avatar descriptor. So that's kind of how you upload, or that's how you basically make just a basic avatar, no customization at all. But I'll be showing you how to, where is it? That's kind of like level 1, so we're going to go to level 2, and this involves, it's very simple, but this will kind of go into messing with different shaders, like Unity-chan and Poyomi, and then also editing textures. So textures can be edited in a variety of programs. From some of my friends edit the con texture in MS Paint. I do it in Photoshop if I'm doing it. Yeah, I normally do it in Photoshop or Substance Painter, which are kind of, there are two other options which you can use to edit the texture. So I'll be kind of taking you through how to, this will be like kind of a basic way to edit the avatar. So first off, there's things called textures. As you can see, they're just images, square images. And what this does, if you take a look here, let's make it a little bigger, you can see that the different parts of the texture here are different parts of the con. So you can see these right here are the cuffs, the sleeves, and then this is the tail right here, the face, the eyes, eyebrows, hair is up here, and these are the socks. So you can see that basically I just imported this into Photoshop, and in this case it wasn't the best. I could have used the Photoshop file that comes with the con itself, but I ended up basically just using the bucket tool and painting over the different parts to get my texture that I wanted. And so to basically apply this, what you can do is go to materials, and you'll see this one's already set up for Unity-chan Toon Shader. But if we hit Control D, we can basically just duplicate it. And then I'm just going to change out the base map for my own. So now you can see it's looking like mine, and I can just drag and drop it on. And bam, now I can just upload this right away and have my custom avatar. Now here is where we can get into shaders, and this is probably one of my favorite things to do with avatar creation because there's just so many possibilities. And as you can see, this is how you select a shader. So for example, if I wanted to change like I can go for something standard. Let's go standard shader. It does not look very good because there's no rim lighting, and it doesn't have a toon look at all. But you can change stuff, like you can change, make it really smooth. You got a glossy con, but it will look pretty bad in Worlds, which is why I recommend using Unity-chan or Poyomi. But you know, there's different kind of like modifications you can do. So say for my first con, what I ended up doing is I turned up the rim lighting. I think I made it pink. And then, yes, I made an emission map, and I made that pink as well. And so you can see I have like glowing pink, my name on it. And then this is like a really quick way to get a pretty decent custom avatar very, very quickly. But the shaders don't just end there with like, you know, simple texture shaders. You can go for a more crazy shader. For example, let's try out, I have not that one, here's a metallic shader. Now, that doesn't look very good, but if we add back a main texture, so let's go make it a con, and let's turn up the main texture and turn down the metallic tint, and let's make the cubac color. This is kind of like color. Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's a pretty simple looking con already, and it's very easy to make. And I don't know, you might be looking for that aesthetic, but I would say just play around with different shaders and mess around with the settings, and you can get a pretty cool effect pretty quickly. So that's how to kind of do level 2. Simple, basically editing a texture, and then messing around with shaders. Those are kind of the two ways to make it in Unity solely and not need to learn Blender or anything like that. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, Blender is an awesome application, which has, you know, tons of powerful capabilities to make avatars. And there's different levels of learning Blender, and it is a little more tricky because it has a kind of steep learning curve, but if you take it by steps, and I'll be making some videos on how to take it by steps later on, it won't be too hard. So kind of the first, there's like different options you can do with Blender, and basically what you can do in Blender is you can, like these applications, you can edit textures, and you can, this is the big thing, you can make the edit and make your own FBXs, which is like we saw earlier. Under here, it is what you can just drag and drop in, and it will look like the same. It doesn't have any of the stuff on it because it's not a prefab, which is the one thing for prefabs, it adds the dynamic bones automatically. But if we can customize this, say we customize the mesh and we add some bones, you can do some really crazy stuff. So you can edit FBX files, and then you can also do textures. But I honestly don't do textures a lot in Blender. I normally just do FBX work. And so to get your FBX file, you can either get it from, for example, if I were to open this up in Blender, this FBX file, I can just edit it right away. Or alternatively, I can, make something in VRChat Studio, or convert something from MMD, or find FBX models off of DeviantArt, or just model it yourself, which I think is really awesome. So there's also different levels to learning Blender. I kind of split it up. So there's, for changing FBX, a very common thing to do is combining armatures. So say you want to add new hair onto the con. That would be basically kind of combining armatures if you want the dynamic bones in it, or if you want to add some other ears, or you can add clothes and sculpt it onto your model, as well as UV editing, which is, I'll go into that in a little bit. That all changes the FBX file. And then you can also just do textures, which is, you can kind of paint directly on the 3D model, which is kind of cool. And then finally, you can do stuff from scratch. This can either be models, or it can be making, like humanoid models, or if you want to make something like a hat or a weapon or something, you can do that. And that's probably a little more tricky. But yeah, we'll start off with UV editing and textures, because they kind of go hand in hand. So how Blender works is, you can see this is looking quite a bit different than the final, because the differences between the two is this one has shaders on it. So you can see like the shaders are much better looking. Like for the hair, for example, it's normally like that. I just drag down the saturation to make it white, because that's a quick way to do it. But you can see this is the same model. And for textures, so for example, the eyes are not textured right now, and you can see, oh, it's not looking great. Okay, yeah, the eyes are not textured. And let's go ahead and disassemble this by material to make it a little easier. And let's hide that. So we have two eyes here. Basically right now there is just a black texture on it. So if I go to shading, you can see this image eye text is just a black image. If I go to texture paint, you can see it's just a black image. And let's say I want to have this be my eye. If I want to draw something here and have it kind of be an eye here. So the first step would be to UV edit it. So how UVs work is it basically tells you what, as you can see, this is made up of little meshes. The face is made up of a bunch of little polygons. And what UV editing does is it tells what pixel or what part of this image lines up with what polygon here. So if I select both of the eyes, you can see right now, if I wanted to make this eye, I'd have to draw into this little box. But, I have this whole image, and I want to make it the whole image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these, and let's just drag it up. Let's make it as big as possible to make the eyes the highest resolution possible. And this might not be the best option if, like for example, the con model has the eyes built into the full body. But if you want some really detailed eyes, you can go ahead and do this. Alright, so now that's all set up. Now I know roughly this is how big I want to draw the eye. And I can go to texture paint, which is kind of the second thing. So we covered UVs, and now we're going to texture paint. And this is basically, you can basically paint. So there's two kind of ways to do it. The first way would be to paint directly on your model. So if I want an eye, let's say white, I can, this is really, I'm not good at this, but if I want to change this, there you go. You got some creepy looking eyes on your model. Wow, that is scary. Okay, let's undo that. That's one way. You can draw directly on your model, as you can see, and it will color in the UV here. Alternatively, you could say insert an image of an eye that you found online and line it up here. Or you can paint directly on here. So I want the outside of my eye to be white. I just colored it white. I don't know why I colored it white, because it's got a white background. But, you know, if I color this like pink, you can see the outer edge of the outer edge is pink, and then the middle could be red. And I have that, and that's looking scary. But I think you understand that's how texture painting works in Unity. And it's really powerful. Next up, we are going into combining armatures and sculpting. I'll go over just a quick overview of this. But you're going to want to, that's what it's called. So for example, the hair here. This is my armature, and it's made out of bones. So as you can see, I have the body, the legs, the hips, the tail here, arms, and then lots of different hair bones. And if I start pose mode, you can see that I can move these bones. And if I stop pose mode and unhide this, you can see that it moves the hair in different places. Or if I want to move the arm, I can move the arm up and down. And how this works is, this is actually weight painting. So this is probably the hardest thing to do in Blender, in my opinion. But if I go to weight paint, you can see that each bone has a different how do I say it? A different. Let me just disable one thing. Okay. Yeah. I'll go for the hair. So if I click this, well, it's a little hard to see. Right. Okay, you can kind of see it here. You can see that each let's go to wireframe. Okay, here. You can see that each bone has a different. The red is 1, and then the blue here is 0. So if I move this bone, it's going to move these polygons. The red polygons will follow it exactly, and then the yellow will follow it partially, and that's because, you know, some of it move with here, so you get like a nice smooth body, and then you kind of just paint around here to get the different parts of the mesh to move with your avatar. The same with the hair. Yeah, it's a little tricky to see the hair. So yeah, that's probably the most tricky thing to do, but I'll make individual tutorials for that. Yeah, now we're going to go into sculpting and adding armatures. So for example, I want to add hair to this. I can just download some hair. If you find a cool hair file online, like I did here, you can basically pop that on. And this is what a lot of avatar creators do to make their own custom avatars. They would combine, they take a base model and then they add ears to it, or they add hair, or or you add clothes, which I did here. And this is probably the most common thing, and it's not that hard. So I'll be doing a tutorial on that separately, but that's just, you can combine armatures in Blender. Next up, we have sculpting. So for example, if I do get a model on off of online, right, and I have it here, for example, this is a sweater, but it doesn't quite fit my avatar, which they frequently don't, especially with something like a con. You can enter sculpt mode and basically grab the different parts of the mesh and fit them to your avatar. So I can kind of like, if I make it a little bigger, if my avatar was like really fat or something, I could put out the belly, or I can make it, make it a lot smaller and kind of just shape the mesh to my avatar. And this is a quick way to make something fit your avatar very easily. So you can do this to hair. Alternatively, you could just scale it. So I can scale it up and down, make it smaller, or scale it this direction, or, you know, like stretch it out. But sculpting will get you, make it looking really nice. So that's a quick coverage of these four. And then last up, and I'll try to do this quickly, it's just making mesh from scratch. So I think this is probably my favorite thing, maybe besides from shaders, to do, because you kind of take the whole avatar creation into steps. So you can just make anything you want. So for example, if I'm trying to, like on my Uwukon, I have weapons and bullets, and I can basically like model. I'll just show you how to make. This is like a quick shell, like a bullet shell. Yeah, and you can make something really quickly, and I don't know, I think this is really fun to do. But basically you just I'll make videos on this as well, but you use the Blender modeling tools to get somewhere. Like this is a, you know, decent looking shell, and then you can add a quick material just to see how it looks. And so let's make it gold. Let's go to material preview. Okay, there. Let's make it gold. Shade smooth, and then let's turn down roughness and bump up metallic. So there we go. We have like a decent looking shell right off the bat. And yeah. And basically you can export these individually as FBXs and import them to Unity for use. But you know, you could model something like you can model your own hair, you can model your own ears, and then I could also rig this up with a bone. So if I go to edit mode, I could not edit mode, but I can basically add bones. And then if I like were to parent this here, which I'll be showing you how to do. This is just an object parent, but if I were to move the bone, now it moves the bullet. But you know, if I want to make ears, I'd probably do multiple bones and then weight paint the top part of the bone to the top part of the ear, bottom part of the bone to the bottom part of the ear. I'm sure this is probably very confusing at this point, but like I said, if you want to make custom stuff, it's a little more tricky, but we can get there. So that's kind of like a quick overview of what you can do in Blender. It's just a ton of possibilities, and as you can see, like here, there's just a bunch of cool. Oh, wrong thing. You can, I have bones in the glasses. I have bones in the front hair. There's a bunch of cool shaders you can just play around with. There's colliders on the hair, so it drags along the floor. And there's just a bunch of cool stuff you can, mess around with in Blender, which I think is so cool. So hopefully this wasn't too confusing. And if it was, reach out to me or just let me know. But yeah, I think the easy stuff right here, these two stages, is very accomplishable, and it's not too hard to do. So I hope this will kind of encourage you to, give editing and texture a shot. And yeah, you might get hooked. All right. Thank you for watching. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Bye-bye.